the director of data and analytics at RBC, and yet he still spends his time, really, I guess, showing his love for community and academia. So he is actually one of our very own professors. He teaches CSC CO1. He's our professor, Professor Pankaj Agrawal. He's had 12 plus years of experience in finances. Well, the financial industry, let me say. And so I know that for a lot of us here, that's an intersectionality that we're very interested in. So I'm really excited to hear what he has to offer us, what insights he has to give us today. So why don't we just give him the floor, okay? Welcome to the floor. I'm going to hook you up to multiple wires.
Oh, is it? Can't I just use that one?
That's for the camera, because we're recording this, and this is for the mic. Sorry.
I'm so used to the normal classroom and just using my voice. Is it audible? Great.
I have one more mic to hook up to you.
Oh, is it?
Yes. So one more, that's just for a camera.
Can just keep it over
Don't
here.
you feel like a Kardashian?
I don't know. Too many wires. Will I get a shock or something?
Is that good?
Great. So just give me a second till I figure out the techie things, which I'm not so good at. Does it automatically?
It's connected, right? So it should be.
Oh, no, it's the HDMI only. Okay.
Maybe it'll take a second.
Awesome. Great. Good evening, folks. Really excited to be here. Apologies for being late, but it's so pleasant to see so of you guys participating in a Datathon, which goes for so long, and showing your interest and love for data. What I'll be walking you today is definitely nothing technical. I was talking to one of the students out here, and I was mentioning I'm not gonna be your some new things out there to learn you, but definitely will walk you through some of the tidbits and bits which we do in our day-to-day lives, and probably something which you won't learn in your lectures, or maybe, I don't know, but will make you a better data scientist. When we think about data scientist and the journey beyond it, we just think about data. And what I've learned in my 12 or 13 years in the industry is it's definitely more than that. So today what I'll be walking you through is, or telling you, is the art of the storytelling, which is the key and the heart of data. It doesn't matter whether you are a BI professional, whether you are a data science professional, or whether you are a data analyst person. If you can't tell your stories right, probably you're not doing a good job at the data itself, because data doesn't speak for itself, though we teach the students the way that the data should speak, but that's always not the case. So again, I know it's a long day for you, so won't take much of your time, will be pretty short. And if there are any questions, feel free to interrupt me. And definitely, again, feel free to reach out after the Datathon. I know most of you would be really tired and want to just go back home on such a chilly day. Okay, so a little bit about me. I did my schooling at U of T, did my master's at U of T. I'm currently working in RBC. RBC as a bank is quite large. I work in global asset management. So I work in investment management industry. So if any one of you have heard of mutual funds, ETF, or is anyone interested in, that's my small shop where I work. And my day-to-day responsibilities generally include playing around the data that is coming from the transactions of the retail investors or the institutional investors. Some of the lines that I manage is new product launches. So we see what is selling in the market, what is not selling in the market. We look out for a competitor in the market like Vanguard, McKinsey, all the big names, BlackRock. We do have a partnership with BlackRock. We look at what the clients are more interested in. Like last year, back in the COVID, there were Bitcoins which were launched, the ETFs and the mutual fund apart from the normal. Again, a lot of insights go into these product making. So we directly work with the product managers for launching new ETF or mutual fund with the help of data. The other thing we also do is we enables our salespeople who are on the road selling these products to enable their revenue, to increase the revenue through different channels, whether it be the digital channel, whether it be the advisor channel. A lot of you would be doing, most really the digital folks, going directly into the direct investing and trading by yourself if you do. So that's the place or the place where I work. I generally support individual investor business. To make it more simple, the individual investors are like you and me who just go to the direct investing and invest. That's where we have 4 million clients of data that we ingest into our data lake, analyze the patterns, the behavior of customer, which then further gets into the marketing teams, what kind of promotion should be coming. You might have heard of Investees. That's where we have done a collaboration with our broader RBC folks. And that's my primary focus. There is an institutional focus, but again, institutional is more for bigger players in the market. I love to be where I invest and learn more about it. Okay, so the technology has quite been increasing on a daily basis. Whether you take any technology, web, data, the data has been exploded since the last 7 or 8 years post 2015. That's where all the new big data technologies came in. The machine learning was always there. The models were there. Only unsupervised models people were focusing more and more on. But as the time is going by, Gen AI is increasing. Unstructured learning is increasing, but still there is a lot of focus on the supervised learning. And I'm quite sure, like even when you were doing your Datathon, a lot of it, you guys, some of you might have done the LLM as well, the Gen AI, which I believe, like at least for the next 5 or 10 years, the Gen AI will continue to blast. It will grow exponentially, but the supervised learning still will have its own relevance and will boom again at a rate of 2x or 3x, and there will be more development in the unstructured learnings, and more things will evolve, but that's where the technology is disrupting a lot. The other thing which is happening with this technology disruption is the data itself. It's not cleaner, it's more messier, as you see. Even as we are talking, as you just saw, I was hooked into a lot of wires. All this data is going somewhere, right? And that's where, as a challenge for a data science professional, is how do you handle such a huge amount of data and make some sense out of it? Because you really don't know what is a good data, what is a bad data. And that's a lot of efforts to identify that, right? And there has been, like, irrespective of what the technology has done, that's where a human interconnection is really important to identify that. As the technology has grown, we all know, the models itself, what you implement, are becoming more easier and easier. There are companies on the market which are giving plug and play optionality, like you don't really have to play around the neural networks or anything LLM. You just get a front end, you upload your data, and the model just gives you a boom. What will never happen, I can tell you right now, is the connection between those models and the sense out of those models. We will never, we can debate at some point about the singularity and all those things, but still it's very far, at least the lifespan that I have or that you guys will see. We will, maybe at some point we will see that, but there will be a long way ahead before we go over there. So again, when you're doing any kind of data work, be it BI, data science, or data analysis, just focus on the value out of it, not itself on the model. The optimization, I know a lot of folks, even back in my days, I used to focus a lot on what kind of optimization can I do? How much can I just make it the best possible model on the street or in the world? That is important, but there are more important things. I always, what I learned in my life is you should always aim for 80%, not from an accuracy perspective, because that's where some of you would be like, we're aiming for 95, 98% accuracy. But if you got your 80% data correct, you will get there in terms of 95 or 98% accuracy, which you want. We focus, or we kind of get into the rabbit hole of that 20%, trying to make it a complete utopian world and work for everyone. So don't get into it. Yep.
I'm just curious, can you go a little bit more in depth on what you mean about on how you describe the value from the data analysis that you get versus accuracy of the model itself?
Sure. I do have some examples to share across, so I think some of those will be meaningful. I'll share some of the things that we do in real time that you might be able to connect and how the value of data comes into, irrespective of the accuracy of the model. Okay? Great question. I should have done something. I like this quote. Again, from an investment management industry, Benjamin Frank has been like a godfather of the industry. You really need to be, by failing to prepare, if you don't prepare for something, you are definitely failing. And that's where it's important for you folks also is, if you don't prepare your data well, you are definitely falling into that rabbit hole of optimization, accuracy, and everything. So always just remember, I wouldn't say remember it, but just if it's synchronizes or echoes with you would be a nice one. The other thing that I really like is, irrespective of, again, data or anything, brand, marketing, most of the successful companies, whichever you like, Uber, Airbnb, the fintechs, right? Simple, Questrade, all focus on the value, right? And the impact that they deliver on their clients. The story that they are telling you. Like marketing is all about, and you might say like, why are we talking marketing in a data science? But what is going into the marketing is actually the data science folks putting in front of them what the client is actually looking into. And we only buy those things where there's a compelling story, where we can connect the dots to ourselves. Like how does it relates to our personal life? For example, Uber, like it just shake the entire fintech industry when you could just find a cab outside your hotel or outside your apartment. It just connected the convenience. It just connected the problem what everyone was looking for, right? I don't know how many of you remember, might not know, the first smartphone was not in 2000 or like until 2010. It was in fact invented back by IBM in early 90s. It has I think it was called a Simon Cowell computer, something like that. It had a touch screen. It can do calculation. It could take notes. Whatever you can think as of today, it could do it at that point. But still, it failed miserably. The reason was because of so many features embedded in that one communicator, the battery didn't last more than half an hour or 1 hour. It didn't solve the purpose. Everyone was looking for a basic answer. But the IBM folks at that point, because as an engineer, I also have an engineering background, we always tend to oversolve, right? Because we all are A-type personality where we want to solve things. We love solving, right? But sometimes we so much solve it that it goes beyond the simpleness. So again, coming back to, I'll always come back to why is it important in this context is, even in your data science journey, as you embark on that journey, or as you do different things, always keep it simple. Always connect to the problem that you're trying to solve for, and see if it's solving the problem. It's a great start. It doesn't have to be fancy, and that will take you really, really long way ahead. So this is how normal roadmap, even in your Datathon, would have looked like. You would have collected the data samples from an open source or whatever data sets were provided from company. You identified a business problem. Forget about the data engineering. That's where a lot of cleaning of the data comes into the picture. But you as a team would have done in those 24 hours or 48 hours or a week long, refine the data to your suitable needs, and then build supervised models or unsupervised models or LangChains, and then probably in the next half of it, once I'm done speaking, you'll be telling a story through that data, right? So that's the roadmap of a data science professional, or even when you're looking at your day-to-day lives. Now, with that, how many of you think, what is a compelling story for you, right? Like I've been speaking, I'm quite sure some of you might be, I don't know whether it's compelling or not. Anyone? Like what's a compelling story for you?
Something that has personal effect.
Something that has personal effect. Someone else want to say? It could be any story. It doesn't have to be data science. It could be a Netflix binge that you watched. Personally, yeah.
Story the audience can empathize.
The story that connects with us, right? Yep.
Maybe a story about your research work.
Story about your research work. Something that you can connect to, right? That satisfies your quest, what you're looking for. Like personally, I like Stranger Things. I like Game of Thrones. I can mention 1,000 series which I binged watch. The only reason was because it was serving my quest, the thing that I wanted to look into. And the writer, what he had put it out there, or she had put it out there, is something which hits the nail, right? It serves the quest. It serves your subconscious mind of what you're looking at, and it's a great deal. If you look at a normal storytelling, which the writers do, and if you look at a data storytelling, it's both the same. You're serving the quest of the audience. Think about a place, or think about a web series or a movie that you watched, which was all over the place, right? One plot changes, the second plot changes, like within 30 minutes, 30 plot changes. You will lose the interest right away, right? Same goes with the data storytelling. You implemented the best models, you implemented the best technology, you had the greatest data engineering, but you were moving so fast that the person couldn't understand what actually is happening. And that really fails. That defeats the purpose, again, of what you wanted to do in the very first place, which was solving the business problem. So again, to have a great story, whether it's you're writing as a writer, whether you are writing as a data science professional, I'll use data professional, which encompasses all the people, it has to serve quest of the audience to whom you're serving for, whether it's a business problem, whether it's your client. We do it on our daily lives, right? We do tell strong stories to our family, friends, even our professors, right? I couldn't make it to the class, or you know what happened? I was with my friend, he was not feeling good. You make it compelling. The same thing needs to happen when you see the data. You have to make it compelling. You have to make it personal that the other person can connect to. Because if you don't make it compelling and personal, probably you're hitting the mark. And again, no matter what kind of technology you use, the business folks don't care about the technology. They care about a technology. Maybe when you're working in a startup, it's all about technology in the very first place. But when a startup is all well established, that's where it gets into, okay, what is our client, right? In the very first place, the client was always there, but sometimes it deviates from the client and then get into the technology more, right? So when we are looking at this storytelling, we just don't want to show the data. We want to tell stories with it. And translating data into a layman terms in order to influence business or action, that's the whole crust of your storytelling. I grew up in a family, like my whole family is a doctor back home. I'm from India, and I never understood medical science that well. But my dad had a really keen acumen of translating those medical terms so simply to a 5-year-old child, I still remember, that I felt like I was the doctor back at that point. That's the power of telling a story. If you can tell that story to a 5-year kid, what you have done today, you have already reached to a stage. You don't have to worry whether you win or not win. You are already on a very progressive path ahead. And that's you should focus on inculcating in yourself apart from all the good courses, all the good things that you learn along the way that will take you long road ahead. This is a general glacier which happens with everyone. You are not alone, and if you didn't fall in trap for that, you are really the top 1 percentile of the people on earth. What we generally focus on is we just, as soon as the problem is given to us, again, as a A-type engineers, right, we get into solving the problem without understanding what the problem was. We just solution it. We want to get the best solution because that's how our brain works, right? I still remember whenever I got a car, electronic car, the first thing I'd do is I'll just open it up because my curiosity was more on what's inside. And once I opened it up, I could never put it back, right? So again, I was not interested in running it or playing with it, but as an engineer, always like just splitting it out and doing things. But majority of your time should be, again, going into understanding the data. And then a lot of time, as you could see, is understanding the data is there, but a lot of time has to be in the narrative approach as well. So what I'll do is I'll give you a framework today, which is, again, not a rocket science. It's not something that you might not have learned or not heard of. But what I'll try to do is, again, coming from an industry which has been there for a while, coming from a place where we have been doing data science since its inception, when the data science became the best or the sexiest job on the market. Things have changed up and down now. Maybe it's something different. And probably when you go back today, you will try to resonate it with you in the future, something, or you can take it away. It's a very simple process, 3-step process. The problem, the solution, the data. If you can understand these 3 steps, you're probably very good to go. Now, there is a famous quote which I read somewhere, and what it has a kind of correlation to Albert Einstein is, if 1 hour was given to Albert Einstein to save this world, he would have spent 59 minutes just on understanding the problem. What that means is the world is ending, but he would still spend 59 minutes just on understanding why is it, like what's happening to this earth, why is it getting all of a sudden out of the space, the universe that we live, right? We all have been in that 2000 era, or every time it happens, the earth will be no longer, although we still survive after 4 billion years as a universe. And 1% would only be just for the solutioning of it. So you can imagine how much depth needs to go into this identifying the problem phase. So let me take you to an example. There is a ANZ bank. In this case, I'm not specifically taking RBC, so let's take an arbitrary ANZ business bank. The revenues of the bank has been readily declining year by year, right? As a data science professional, you're the brightest mind right now. You have been given a task of should we solve this problem? What is the first thing that will come to your mind when a business problem like this comes to you? Anyone? Yep.
Root cause analysis.
What's that?
Root cause first principles.
Root cause analysis. Anyone else? What's the quest we want to go on if a particular bank has a declining revenue year by year and is offering multiple products? Like, what's that one problem statement that you would like to solve as a data science folks, as a data professional? What do you think? Let me give you a more realistic example. We have a lot of aging population in Canada, right? We manage a lot of money for these aging population. All of a sudden, these money will be withdrawn from the bank. Now, as a business professional, you're working in a bank, You have hundreds of millions of money sitting in the bank, but you know, as soon as 2025 comes, this 100 of million is gonna get out of my bank account. How will you solve this problem with the data which is provided to you? What's the quest that you get into? Anyone? See, if I was not here and if this problem was given to you and in a limited time frame, everyone would be running for what's the data? What's the data available? Let's get the analysis, the causal analysis, the regression, all those things, right? Let's see how difficult it is to just frame the quest, what you want to solve for the business. Because in business world, it is never like one for one, you have to solve multiple things. I saw a hand over there, yeah.
Oh, it's a joke. I feel like I'm talking too much, but like probably talk to people of it and try to see like the mechanism, where the data can lie.
Yeah.
Like, what are the factors that lead to the aging population needing to withdraw money?
Great. What is the factor that is leading for that aging population to withdraw money? Does the bank have enough products to offer the aging population? You would like to answer that kind of questions, right? What is the current offerings being offered to these aging population? Has there been already a redemption trend analysis going against these population? Are they investing in any other products being offered by the bank, whether it's a cash, whether it's a GIC, whether it's a high interest saving account? It could be anything, right? Now when you think more about it, you kind of understand the quest, the problem that you're trying to solve for. And if I limit it to just one problem, what are the products being offered to my aging population, right? You would like to do an analysis of the products being offered to the aging population. Maybe there are no right products, or maybe there is not a product which can be offered to this aging population, and probably that's where the business is kind of at risk of all of a sudden in 2025 the money getting out of the bank, right? Now you see like how important it is to have that identifying the problem and the quest and the search that you want to go on to. Now as you have defined the problem, it becomes really, really very easy to go to the solution phase. Let's have a look at that. So this is, again, just a purpose. Have a clear purpose, objective priorities of the report to achieve a more useful result, and the reason for that is to have a clarity in mindset. Again, the question that we're always asking is, what is the user actually looking, or what are we solving for? So the next point that I want to get into is who is the final user. It's also important from a solutioning perspective. Now, but when you get into the solution, our problem was, are there any products being offered to the old age population where they can actually buy those products? What will be the solution look like? Like, what will you do? What will be your stepped approach look like? Anyone wants to give it a try? Yeah.
Probably understand the user more in a sense as to, for example, accessibility for old age people will be a very important factor. Then a lot of times in Canada, some people especially from Montreal or people areas around will only do French. So that is one thing you need to take care about. Other than that, what are the specific needs going into the nitty-gritty of the people itself, and then trying to modify a product according to the people's need, I guess.
No, that's great. See, like there were 3 or 4 questions which were posed, right? What is the accessibility of the folks? Is language a barrier, or are there products specific to the language areas, right? So now with the problem, you can come up with clear solutions that you are trying to solve for. You can look around the correlations. Now you are coming, as we are talking, your brain is starting to work to create a story, right? You're coming up with the solutions and the questions which make sense to the business. On the first hand, if we didn't search for that quest, you would have just looked at the input data first, the raw data, which is my final piece of the puzzle, and then you would have solutionized it and then solved the problem, which is, again, it's not wrong and right, but what it leads to you is, it leads to you in a way or in roads which were not desirable in the very first place. So given that questions and the solutions, what we want to answer, like what are the products being offered? Are there enough products? Is accessibility an issue? Are these old age people only on which platform? Which channel revenue will be affected the most, right? Is it my digital channel? Is it my bank branch channel? Is it my advisor channels? Which channels are those? And that brings us to the last piece of the framework, the input, which is the data points. Now you know what kind of data are you looking to answer, solutionize, and solve the problem. So it's not that you're just going really arbitrary in the room and solving the problem, getting all the data which was there, but now you have narrowed down your research only to that raw input data, which you want to massage it, clean it, and probably connect with your business folks and apply those mappings, very business-specific mappings, which will allow you to get to the final output that you're looking for. For example, we do an industry league comparative analysis analytics. And what that basically means is we go to all the raw data that comes to us, whether it's through Morningstar, Bloomberg, you name it. There are a bunch of data sources that we get. But this data is so bad, which probably you guys have already seen in your Datathon as well as, that it's impossible to work with it. So you have to, again, start with a quest, what you're trying to solve for, solutionize it, isolate your data, and then come up with your business partners, the mapping which will make sense. And if you do this exercise, what you'll see is at the end of the day, when you're finally building your model, what you're trying to solve for has a pretty good accuracy because your input was right. So coming back to the initial question that you had, how this data selection versus accuracy are there, that's how they are correlated. I've seen the experiences as well as journeys where we just started with raw data with a starting accuracy of just 70%, and the team was banging their head how to get 90-95% accuracy without any clarity of what they're trying to solve for. Now, when I say with no clarity of what they're trying to solve for, they had questions in mind, right? But those questions were not relevant to the scope of what needs to be solved for. So again, I hope with this 3 steps framework, when you get out of the room today and apply in your daily life, or whether it be the next phase of life, it will be really helpful. So who's your final user? Get a better interpretation, understanding results, what your business is actually looking for. What is the question that users will be answering when consulting this report or the data or the model that you're building for them. And the final is identify the relevant data. What do you want to answer through this data and get the solution and the output. Again, that's the framework for an effective data storytelling. In the data world, it doesn't matter whether you are writing a book or you're writing a story through data. Both are the same. Both requires really big efforts to connect and nail it down and to connect to the user whom you want to serve for. I think I'll leave it over there with a short note. So thanks a lot, folks. Any question, I'll be there. Any question? I know Anna was running down to me, so probably I'm running out of time. Yeah. Always hiring bright minds like you. Always be in touch, guys. Like again, yeah. So always hiring. Yep.
How would it be different from the software development? Because I also know that the software development also requires you to get to know the customer to understand what the customer needs and what you should build. So is
The software development and the data science. Is that what your question is? So it's two sides of the coin. Software development is more of maybe you're defining an internal operational process. There are various bunch of information. Maybe you are defining a digital interface, a new website. Maybe you are designing a new mobile application, right? That's where your software development is. Now, in terms of connecting to your business folks and having that loop or feedback cycle is always important. So in that sense, both are interconnected. But when I see data world itself, the data science professional, you're actually solving the real client analytics, right? Or the applied analytics for the user, which is not within the scope of software designing, maybe, but more from how the usability of the software would be. But over here, if you are in a marketing team, you are basically defining what their campaigns would look like, right? You're defining how many consumers are likelihood to click an email if a product is sent to them, right? So it's a lot of that component versus software development could be internal. It could be external as well, client facing, but most of them are internal and website within the arena of website. Okay. I saw a hand over. Yeah.
So thank you so much for the great
Yeah.
presentation. You said you have an engineering background.
Yeah.
Like by profession, I'm a statistician. I'm teaching here like stat courses.
Mm-hmm.
I'll talk about just myself. Like I did my undergrad almost 20 years ago, and this problem, like specifying the problem and then thinking about the end user, that was never taught like in any of my course. I don't know, it's like where you have learned it. So that would be my first question. Is this something you learned in school, or is this something like you have learned through your work?
I learned by failing. So through my experiences, none of the courses teaches that, and that's where when the team came out to me, I thought like for the folks like this, it would be interesting to walk them through some of the tidbits that I've learned by falling. So yeah, I was the person who was always aiming for accuracy with no business context.
Exactly, and then in terms of this failing, like for example, RBC. Do they allow you to fail? Maybe it's a tough question. But like, do they give you the time to fail and then
I think in a world like this today, every organization is very acceptable to failures. But if you're open about it, I would say it that way, right? Like I would say like every organization, especially with the world progressing so fast and so many frameworks coming up so fast, every industry, every domain is open to allow that POCs and fail within those POCs. But again, you have to have that clear outcomes of what you would be failing and what will be your iterative process will look like in this agile framework. So if someone says, give me 2 years time, I'll try, I'll fail. Probably none of the industry out there will agree to it. But if you say, give me 3 months time, we will iteratively improve it, I don't think so anyone will have any objections to that.
So one last
Yeah.
question to follow. So I can just talk like, on behalf of the stat department. But we still 20 years later, we still don't have courses that will teach this thing. So students who are here, I don't want to talk about computer science.
Yeah.
But just for the stat students, they don't have any course right now. And it's it's on our part, we are failing. But then how they can learn these things? How they can improve themselves?
I think if through any of the courses, again, I haven't seen the curriculum, but if there could be some of the courses higher in third year or fourth year where things like this could be taught in a one lecture or two, I think that allows them to develop that mindset and the deliverables catering the assignments more solving towards the problems rather than testing them core technical could be one of the ways, but again, I could be way off on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. There was.
Yeah, actually, just in relation to your question, there's a concept called fast to fail, and I've seen it. I don't know if I've seen it in some RBC jobs or something, but it's just I just want to respond to it. I don't know his name. Just previously, there's a concept called fast to fail. I don't know if that's prevalent in your space.
Yeah, no, we have RBX. I think a lot of companies have these X version of it, and what these means is these are fast to fail. Like these are built around the startup concept. These are built around that you iteratively do your product and you fail, then you do it again, you improve it, and that's how it's done. So yeah.
And the question I wanted to ask, I'm just taking a course about data was kind of, I guess at the beginning, my original question was, what was your thoughts on like the fundamental, what was your thoughts on what data is, what value is fundamentally, and how do you describe value versus like utility and accuracy?
So it's always the value question to me. So just to give you again an example, when we hit it 2020, when the market tanked, the first question that came to us was, how was the market back in 2007? Everyone wanted to do an analysis of how quickly the market will rebound, right? Every question was going back then. So in terms of relevance and the value of data, I think we are in an age where the value will never disappear. In fact, it will add us more and more in that time series to help us and enable us to make better decisions. So that's where the value of the data comes into the picture. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you guys, thanks a lot.